Thomas Partey has just signed a 2-year deal with Villarreal. And Leandro Trossard and Jakub Kiwior have just been told by Mikel Arteta, you are going nowhere. So they are both in the plans for Mikel Arteta's new season, and that comes as a shock to most people. Welcome to the channel. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe as we dive right into the very juicy conversations that making the rounds in the last couple of days. So let's start from Thomas Partey. I personally rate Thomas Partey as a solid, combative midfielder for Arsenal. Solid guy. We've seen him over the last 5 years. And I was picturing, when I heard that Zubimendi was going to be signing for Arsenal, I started to picture that powerful defensive block we could go into when we are in a difficult situation, like we want to hold the back line. Imagine a Zubimendi and a Thomas Partey, and then of course you have somebody like Odegaard in the attack, and we want to just hold the game and see off, say, a 2-0 lead or a 1-0 lead in the, say, 70 to 80th minute. But that's not to be. We signed Norgard, who, to his credit, he's a solid player as well. He doesn't have the injury record of Thomas Partey, and the initial games against, the preseason game against Tottenham, fans have concerns about how we've lost a bit of fluidity, ball carrying ability of Partey, but the jury is not yet out on anyone actually, not even Norgard. There's a lot of time for him to bed into the team, but I just want to be able to break down very quickly what the implication of this deal is for everybody. First, Thomas Partey going to Villarreal, for me, is a loss to him, right? Because the details of the contract are not really out, but I don't think what he was demanding at Arsenal he really got. What we got, from the news with David Onstein and Fabrizio Romano was that he wanted a 2-year contract, and I think an increase on his current wage. But Arsenal offered him a 1-year deal with an option of a second, and I think it was on the same salary, which for me was a fair deal, given his injury history and the fact that going into next season, we don't expect him to play as a main defensive midfielder for Arsenal. He's going to be, coming in at, as substitute to relieve the likes of Zubimendi, probably also play featuring in the FA Cup and the League Cup games. Kind of a big patrol. So him being on a very high wage, you will understand why Arsenal were not willing to spend that sort of money to keep him. He was most likely going to get an extension if he stayed fit in the first year. So for me, he lost an opportunity to join potentially the strongest Arsenal side of his entire time at the Emirates. He lost an opportunity to actually be an Arsenal legend, because as the saying goes, you really can't be a legend in a club if you haven't won any major trophy. So he has yet to win anything major at Arsenal. Staying and playing for Arsenal this season, especially with all the new signings coming in, increased the likelihood of him winning something big. And he has lost that, because not signing a contract means he's going to a Villarreal side, which may not be a bad side, but they're still in the Champions League. Credit to them. But from his perspective, they're not going to win the La Liga. There's the Barcelona, there's the Real Madrid. That's not going to happen. There's the Atletico Madrid. It's very unlikely that Villarreal will win the La Liga. They are not going to win the Champions League, most obviously. And so they may pick up 1 or 2 domestic, silverware here and there. But from Arsenal perspective, he's not going to be considered a legend. His time at Arsenal will be remembered. Kudos to him. He was fantastic. He was most of the time on treatment table in the first few years. But he will not really have that. Even if he wants to, after his time at Arsenal, going into punditry like the likes of Rio Ferdinand and John Obi Mikel, he won't come with that level of confidence of someone who has won big things or being a legend at Arsenal. So for him, I think it was not an excellent deal. Also because even though we don't know the details of the contract, I don't think he got exactly what he demanded at Arsenal in terms of his wages, but time will tell. From the perspective of Arsenal, I think it was also a loss, because we lost a solid, proven Premier League warrior. We lost someone who would, shore up the spine in the club. I mean, if Zubimendi was in the team, knowing that there was a Thomas Partey right behind him in case things didn't add up in some games, that would have really been a very, very solid backline. I mean, defensive block from the midfield perspective. So for me, Arsenal also lost an opportunity to, on a cheap, get a solid player by just simply extending his deal. For Villarreal, I think it was a steal. Villarreal got a player for free. Right? I don't know, given the fact that there was all this scandal thing out there in the media at the time he was out of contract. I think the negotiating power was more with Villarreal, because all the clubs who were saying, people were all the fans saying, why can't Arsenal extend his deal, and all the stuff they were saying, none of these big clubs came forward to sign him. There was no Chelsea looking to sign him up, no Man U, no Man City, no Liverpool, the top clubs. The kind of signing that would have been really overwhelming or really big for me would have been, say, like the way Rashford moved to Barcelona for Man U. That for me is a kind of move that would have made a statement to say, well, you guys are not giving me the kind of deal I want. By the way, Rashford had to take a pay cut to make that move. But for me, it was an underwhelming overall move. Well, I think I would say Villarreal got the best part of it. And who else got the best part of it as well? Norgard. Norgard has had a very nice upgrade from his career, from a relatively low team in the Premier League to move to an Arsenal team. raring to win the Premier League and all the big stuff that is happening there. For me, that's a very nice upgrade. So let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments. And then the other thing that came up was also, the statement from Fabrizio Romano that Mikel Arteta has clearly said that he's not going to be letting go of Jakub Kiwior and Leandro Trossard this season. What does that go to show? Mikel Arteta is starting to realize the importance of squad depth. Most of the time, when you hear Arsenal sign a player, like for example, when Noni Madueke was signed from Chelsea, there were a lot of opera from the fans. What they are not realizing is that Mikel Arteta is under a lot of pressure at this stage. He needs to win big things. Even if he cannot win the Premier League this season, by the way, Arsenal are not even favourites right now at this very moment. We still have Liverpool and maybe Manchester City in those conversations. They are up there, but you can't call them clear favourites at this point. So Mikel Arteta has probably realized that the FA Cup is going to be that sort of competition where you can actually win and reduce the pressure on yourself and everybody else. So he needs that second team to be as solid as possible. I'm happy for someone like Kiwior because I think he's a solid, proven, loyal defensive player that has proven himself last season. With Gabriel being injured for a couple of months, he stepped in and he did fantastically well. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. By the way, as of this moment, Gabriel Magalhaes is still not featured in any of the preseason games, and that means that in the opening game against Manchester United, likely we'll be having somebody like Calafiori partnering with in centre back with what's his name now, Saliba. And then, of course, we'll have the other options too. We have Mosquera, who could be an option. But in the beginning stages of the Premier League season, there's a likelihood that Gabriel will miss maybe the first 3 to 4 games. So leave a like. Don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to comment and let me know your thoughts about all of these discussions with Arsenal and all the interesting stuff going on in the Premier League. Stay tuned for more interesting content like this, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.